Hi, this is Paul Hartzell, Vice President of Sales for turfRad, and Gerald Flaherty, longtime superintendent and agronomist. And Gerald, we're not out on the course today because there's a little too much snow and cold weather for us. But where we are is we're talking about courses in other parts of the United States that are moving into their prime season over the winter months. Great to have you today, Gerald, and we're going to spend a lot of time on alerts today.
Good to be here, Paul. Thanks.
One of the things that we have been talking about and making continuous improvement on the turfRad presentation, and we're going to be showing all the viewers this live here in a moment, is the ability to set alerts based on the scale that appears in the upper right-hand corner of what Gerald is now showing us. And Gerald, there's a lot of different ways to use alerts. Of course, both the too wet and too dry would be the obvious ones. But also, they're very valuable for things like spot watering and other specific cases. Take us through a little bit about how these alerts are used from your perspective, and then I think we'll go on and show everyone how these alerts can be adjusted.
Well, good, Paul. Thanks. So I'm over at Longboat Key, and I was looking at the scans, and I was trying to find some scans that had some alerts in there. So I went back to the date November 30th, and you can see here we do have some scans. Now, John he's just started using this not very long ago. So I had to go back a little bit to see where he had some alerts. So you can see here it was getting a little bit wet. Now he's at 43%. He's at 73% uniformity, and you can see on the fairway there he got 369 measurements. So you can see this is a wet spot, and well, I know he adjusted it because I was looking at the following days and it was starting to dry out. So what I wanted to talk about these alerts and kind of how they work. So let's just say, when he first gets this, he's going to get probably a lot of blue alerts because that's just the way it goes. I mean, and then as we start drying out our course, we're going to start getting some dry alerts. And then we can kind of bump it up on the dry alerts, and then we can lower the water usage down on the wet alerts. So let's take a look and see what John's parameters are set up. And I'm going to go up here into my settings. And this is going to take me over into the default template. So you can see, John, this is how it comes out of the box. It comes out at 42%. It's going to alert you at 42% or higher. And then it's going to alert you at the low side, which is 12%. Now, when it comes, I notice a lot of guys are raising their lows up a little bit higher and definitely bumping their highs down a little bit lower. So let's just say John's getting really comfortable with this high percentage, and he can just go in here and edit this. Maybe he's gotten it down where he's not getting any more alerts at 42%, which that's where he is now. So this is where he could come in here. He's just going to hit edit, and he could either bump it down manually here and just start going down. Maybe he wants to go down to 35%, and then maybe he wants to pop this back up. I'm not going to do it because that's John's deal, but I'm going to put that back at 42%, and then he would just go ahead and save changes. So it's pretty simple there.
Now,
So he's still.
Gerald, excuse me. When I'm looking at that, I'm thinking, is this something that you would seasonally adjust, even after you get your course in, I'll say, proper condition for this time of year, heading into January of 2024? Would you make adjustments then throughout the season, doing it the same way?
You could, Paul, but I think we all know our properties really well, and this is just a good start. We give you a good wide range to work with, but I think as he bumps this down, he's probably not going to bump it back up, to be really honest with you. I know at the course I was at, those guys have bumped theirs down to like 17%, but I also know that 17% is not low enough for them. So they don't get worried at 17%. They start getting alarmed when they look at it. Maybe they're down to 12%. So they're probably going to lower their low end down a little bit more because they found that they can go lower. But let's just say, we all have those areas that we know, need to be a little bit wetter or need to be a little bit drier. Maybe there's a tree there, or maybe it's a low spot or a high spot or something like that. We can go right into the head. So, we're on blue hole number 1. So we can go in here and here's all the irrigation heads. And let's just say, for ease of doing it, let's just say number 1, 19F1 is one of those problematic areas. We can go in here and set a threshold, a completely different threshold, saying, I want this to be wet. So don't alert me, don't bother me until it gets up to 50%. Or, I really have problems with this getting dry. So let me know when it gets dry. It'll get dry at 25%. So send me an alert at 25%. So you can start dialing it in. And what I find is the guys, you're going to start with your broad strokes here. And then after you start getting those dialed in, and then you're going to start going into your little problematic areas. So that's just something a little bit about that, Paul. And I think this is going to be a really good way for the guys to just start picking away at it. I mean, like I say, you're going to just start getting the low-hanging fruit with your alerts, and then as you start getting your alerts dialed in, you're going to start tightening this up. Because this is a pretty wide range. We start out with a pretty wide range. What I anticipate is seeing a smaller range, maybe 28% to 12%, 10%, something like that. So
Got it. So, for everybody's consideration, this is one of the new features with the turfRad product as presented on the taskTracker website, which is, of course, where we are right now. And, this ability to now adjust from this perspective down to the individual heads, we think is going to be a very valuable information tool for the superintendents.
Yeah, one thing I didn't mention is, when we have those maps, we can go out and because there aren't a whole lot of dry spots on that particular map, but when we do start seeing dry spots, we can go ahead and print those dry spots up and give them to your hand waterers, which is what we're seeing some guys do. So you're sending out hand waterers. It's nice to just print up some of your areas, and they can just take those maps out and just go ahead and print them. And what we're seeing here is pretty cool, because let's say we're sending somebody out and we're watering areas that are at 12%. What's cool about it is when the hand water goes out there and waters at 12%, when he gets the map tomorrow, if it's at 15%, he knows that he put down the proper amount of water. Right. If it's at 30%, he knows that he needs to back off a little bit. And that's what the superintendent would talk to him about. So it's really good helping these guys learn better on how to do some hand watering, because before, sometimes your mentality is more is better, so you don't have to come back tomorrow. So we're finding a lot of guys are using it that way. So I'll let you close it out, and thanks for having me today.
Okay, well, thanks again, Gerald. Great information. The idea of using alerts is been used by almost all the courses who are using the turfRad solution, and really appreciate your time and your knowledge that you have imparted in this presentation. Finally, happy holidays to everyone who's tuned in, and we look forward to seeing everyone at the convention at the end of January in Phoenix. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
All right, Paul. Thank you. Bye-bye.